child, date of birth. So this child is 8 years old. To be disposed, it was disposed in the first quarter of 2019. This child is 7 years old. And again, this just goes on and on and on. These are the locations of the adrenochrome harvesting sites. United States Army Special Medical Corps, Personnel Performance Report, center name, that's the camp name, and rank. Some sort of diagram that I do not completely understand. It's related to the personnel and the performance. Camp Anza, Camp Callan. Please note these names because these are significant. Camp Kearney, Camp Kohler, Camp Lawrence J. Hearn, Camp Lockett, Camp McQuaid, Camp Santa Anita, Camp Sealy, Camp Stoneman, Camp Young. Now, if you look at these names, for instance, Camp Callan, it was a United States training center operational during World War II. It was located in San Diego, California, and the facility was closed shortly after the war, and a few traces of the base remain. This is what it looked like at the time. But apparently, according to these documents, these camps are still operational. This is Camp Anita, the way it looked in the Second World War. This is another camp that is listed in these documents, Fort Point, and according to Google Maps, the location is just below the Golden Gate Bridge, and I think this is this building, I'm not sure. There are all these deserted places. Actually, this is a museum, so could also point out to the underground facilities. Camp Stoneman used to be a United States Army military facility in Pittsburgh, California. Also closed down. So that's a pattern. Another pattern is that their location is near national parks, very deserted areas. Fort Ord, California, near Monterey Bay, and I will get back to Monterey Bay in a minute. I don't know where the fort exactly is. This area is, there are many locations that are called Fort Ord, but there's also a national park here. So the secluded area, Fort de John, very desolated. And this is a list of closed military installations in California. And if you look at the list, it's identical with the names in these documents. Camp Anza, Camp Callan, Camp Kearney, Kohler, Lockett, Santa Anita, Stoneman, Fort Ord, Fort Point, Presidio of San Francisco. This list is identical with this list. So I suspect that all these closed military installations throughout the US are all still operational, either above ground or below ground. And again, this is extensive, page 5 out of 8. We'll go fast forward. This is a huge document. And whatever this is a professional organization and big scale. The CYM, Caring Corporation. Caring is youth. Youth is money. Money is freedom. Well, freedom not for the children, for sure. Note of promotion. Lance Walls works at Camp Callan as a warden, senior warden, or leading warden, assigned to CYM Corp, New York, warden in adrenochrome harvesting site, AHS, or another function. I would like to point out this contact information. In Monterey, California, I'll go back to the military camps. This is the same address as this. And you can find this at installationsmilitary1source.mil. And this is an official organization that helps mediate American military to provide housing, also connected to these locations. What I find shocking is if you look at these documents and these pictures, I mean, this looks like a very young, nice girl. Why is she working at these camps? According to this document, needs to be investigated. Another thing I like to point out is this location of the address on the letterhead. The CYM Corporation headquarters, 725 Fifth Avenue, New York, office 292. That's the Trump Tower, 725 Fifth Avenue. But what's interesting is that Benjamin Fulford wrote in his report of September 28th that there were some arrests made in regards to this data dump, and that this shop, Abercrombie and Fitch Kids on Fifth Avenue, was a facade, a cover-up for this organization, and it's actually right across from Trump Tower. So the Trump Tower address might also be a smokescreen. I mean, it threw me off at first because I thought that's kind of odd that the Trump Tower is listed on there. But there's hundreds of offices, and, you know, you can hide things in plain sight and also use it as a smokescreen that, you know, eventually could point at Trump. So there's different explanations for this. Then this address is also interesting. Deliveries, 200 Forbes since Annapolis in, I think it's Maryland. I'm not sure. And that's this address, and it's a medical building, and apparently it's a pediatrician office. So they need to do some explanation why their address is showing up on this letterhead. So there's all these personnel. This is another thing I'd like to point out. The CYM is a registered trademark. Register number 5475570. Now, if you go to the registration of the trademarks, this number is the registration of the word mark CYM. Now, if you register a trademark, you register either the word mark or the logo separately or combined, and preferably both, because that gives you more protection. Now, what's interesting, so this is not the logo, but it's actually the way it's written down with which characters, the character mark. What's interesting is that it's allocated to the category restaurant services. And the registrant is Limited Liability Company, Pennsylvania, 4658 G Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, this address lists 4 companies that have the same address: MRP LLC, HP Platano Inc.,